Happy morning to all. In this occasion, I would like to begin with a small quote said by Thomas Alva Edison. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Myself, R. Kritika, Assistant Professor and Coordinator of this webinar. On behalf of our institution, KIT Kalaignar Karunanidhi Institute of Technology, it's my privilege and pleasure to invite you all for this live webinar on Prepare to Embrace Remote Campus Recruitment Model organized by KIT CIII. First of all, I wholeheartedly thank our management, principal, vice principal, deans, and HODs of various departments for supporting us to conduct webinars and encouraging us to do better. We thank all the participants registered for this event, and I am sure that you will feel prosperous by the knowledge you received after this webinar. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar and hope all of you have a bright future. Kindly subscribe our KIT CBE YouTube channel and click on bell button to get notifications for upcoming events. Now, I welcome our Dean, KIT CIII, Dr. K. Mahalakshmi ma'am, to introduce our guest.
Good morning to all. Gautam Jayaraman, Vice President at Interview Pass Bengaluru. I'm happy to introduce and welcome you, sir, for the session. Gautam completed his electrical engineering from University of Mumbai in 2003 and his MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad in 2005. Gautam is a dynamic person with a technology to go market executive with the sales, product management, and customer success experience. He has worked with greenfield projects in startups and to run large teams in mature technology companies. He is passionate about disruptive ideas and building world-class to-go market teams. Prior to Interview Pass, Gautam was with Akamai Technologies for around 7 years. His role as Director Emerging Customer Group had the following responsibilities: creating a world-class service, global customers, and help them leverage Akamai. Responsible for retaining and growing emerging customers in the commerce and high-tech verticals. Was heading a team of relationship managers that manages SaaS, software, and semiconductor customers. Happy to have a versatile personality as a guest speaker with us for sharing the ways in hiring pattern remotely of the new normal today. Thank you, and over to Gautam.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahalakshmi. I want to thank you for inviting me over here to talk to your students. I truly feel honored and privileged to be talking to you guys at Kalaignar Institute of Technology. Thank you for that introduction about what I've done. It looks like a long time since I was in campus. I think more than 15 years back. But campus way back in 2005 was very, very different from what you see today. What I find is students are a lot more empowered. They have a lot more knowledge on their hands, and they are a lot more prepared when they are when they are looking for their first job. And that's a very, very positive sign. It is something that that the industry recognizes and the industry appreciates. So what I'm hoping to speak today is about some of the trends that I'm seeing in hiring. At Interview Pass, I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of recruiters, specifically HR of IT and ITES companies, and I get a sense of what is it that they are looking for, and how they go about planning their campus recruitment operations. There is a change. Some of it has been happening for a while, and some of it is happening because of COVID and the remote interviewing model that companies are looking for. So let me just quickly share my screen. So before I get into remote interviewing, I just want to talk about some of the trends that that I'm seeing today, and this is just my perspective. It's my view, and just the fact that we are sort of having this kind of a remote meeting is testament to the big change that has taken place. So the number one trend that I'm seeing is the live streaming economy has arrived, right? Like having a meeting like this, even maybe 5 years back, was unthinkable. But yet here we are, live streaming video content, live streaming webinars, and which you can watch at your convenience. And Netflix was considered to be a very, very disruptive company. And they scaled from 10 million to close to 200 million users over maybe 10 years, and they were considered to be a very, very fast growing company. But what you are seeing with Zoom and live video conferencing is that they've achieved similar growth rates in the last 5 months, and that is humongous. It just shows that most people are very, very comfortable with remote video conferencing as a technology, and given a choice, they will want to use this technology to conduct their operations. So how are innovators reacting to this trend? Every new trend has folks who first spot the trend very early on. They catch it and they kind of try and figure out ways to improve their business. And the tweet on the left that you see is a gentleman called Aaron Levy. He started a company called Box.net, and this was he basically figured out to get customers to pay for storage facilities or cloud storage facilities when he was still very much a student. So right from his campus, he started this company, which has scaled and become a pretty big company. And this trend is, this is basically a reaction to what he has been seeing over the past 3 months. His view is that if Zoom had a way to kind of allow and enable payments, there would be a lot of services that would be created, which would allow people to accept payments, and people would be running businesses right from their homes. And you're seeing that happen with some of the innovators in the Indian startup ecosystem. And if you look at the image on the right, this is basically a Cult.fit class. Cult is a gym. It's a very popular gym chain in Bangalore, and because of the COVID situation, they had to shut their operations, but they still figured out a way by which they can conduct their classes remotely. So they tied up with some top celebrities, and celebrities were working out and recording sessions right from their home, and these sessions were being broadcast to more than 5 million users who were exercising from their homes. And even a big company like LinkedIn has jumped on the bandwagon, and you're seeing if you go to LinkedIn, they have a LinkedIn Live option, and you can subscribe to streams which are live. And when we kind of when you actually go and see that, look at trying to find a sector that does not use live video conferencing, it is very tough. And we tried to do that. We tried to figure out which sector does not use live video conferencing, and frankly, we could not find any sector that does not use it. So the image that you see in the center is basically a tourism company. Tourism has been badly hit, but this company has figured out a way to have one volunteer go through all these remote sites and record it and store those images, where people can sit at their homes and tour sites, especially religious sites, remotely. You have meditation classes which are moved online. You can subscribe for a yoga class from home. Advertising is in a bit of a tough space, because people, when the economy is down, the first thing that people cut spends on is marketing. And media companies have pivoted to making small educational courses online and and selling them and asking subscribers to view them. Your Story is one such company, and it's extremely popular. And if you look at even doctors, even doctors are now offering consultations remotely. If you go to practo.com, which is a very popular site, you can book an appointment remotely and run a video consultation. So this is a space which is caught on, this is a trend, or this is a technology trend that is caught on in every single sector. Now, recruiting is just one part of it, and I'll talk about what we are doing there a little later on. But one of the things I wanted to highlight is that there are new services that are emerging. The gentleman on the left is Mr. Ranveer Brar. He's a very, very popular social media personality, and all he does is cook and take videos of his cooking classes. And if you go to ranveerbrar.com, you find some really, really cool recipes, and he has a huge fan following. And this class of folks are called social media influencers. They spend a lot of time on social media, And marketing companies, the marketing departments of big companies have recognized that social media influencers play a big role in influencing opinion. And most companies are planning to increase their spends on social media influencers in 2020. So if you go to YouTube Live, you have a lot of famous personalities. Let's say they're buying a phone, that Samsung Galaxy. They would buy their phone, open the box, and they would record their first impressions of what they're seeing about the phone. And a lot of people want to know how do celebrities interact with the products that they buy or purchase, and that's something which a lot of people take into account when making their own purchase decisions. So live media, or live video recording, live video streaming is a trend that is here to stay. And typically, you look at the government policy, it tends to be a laggard. But in this case, the government has been extremely proactive. With telemedicine guidelines being immediately launched as soon as March 2020 happened. And everything I'm talking about is basically events that have happened in the last 3 months. Where, like, believe it or not, like, taking consultations from doctors or medical professionals was not part of Indian policy before March of 2020. So it was there. The legal status of running an online clinic itself was a little grey. But the recent telemedicine guidelines have made it black and white. So there are certain guidelines being given. There is a certain way in which online teleconsultations need to happen. There is a certain format in which prescriptions need to be given. So all of that is basically pointing to one thing, that this is something that is bound to be here. And when we did an internal survey on with HR leaders in terms of hiring, some of those results matched. If you look at the top live interviews, was the top feature request from our platform. And we are predominantly if you look at automated one-way video interviews, this was our predominant business. This is what we did, and this is what we were selling in the market, and this is what we believe was a big differentiator for us, and this is what we believe that companies would need to recruit from campuses. But with the trend that has happened at the moment, priorities have changed, and what companies are inherently looking to do is recruit remotely, and they want to be able to talk to students remotely to get a sense of how the candidate actually is in a live interview. Thankfully, some things have not changed. A lot has changed, but some things that have not changed as far as an interview goes is how you should prepare or how you should attend an interview. And frankly, there isn't much of a difference between attending an interview in person versus interviewing remotely over a Zoom call or a remote video conferencing call. So I just thought it would be useful for me to kind of just revise some of the things that you guys already would know. So like, campus interviewing is starting, and while you would have spent 4 years practicing for your engineering exams and giving so much of your time and effort into getting high up on theory, preparing for interviews is one subject that is not taught in your course, and you need to make an effort to get good at it. Like everything else, it comes with practice. So number one, before attending any interview, research the company. Go online, look at the company, look at Glassdoor ratings, look at the company's values, understand what is it that the company is looking for from a fresh graduate. Number two, practice mock interviews. So find a friend, ask him to ask you questions. Find someone in your family to ask you questions. You would be amazed. You might know you can basically plot induction motor curves in graphs with a lot of expertise. But when somebody asks you something simple like how does a lift work, you might kind of struggle to actually explain that. And that's a skill set that becomes very, very critical when you're giving interviews. So practice, giving mock interviews. Number three, read the job description really clearly, because one of the best ways you can impress your interviewer is asking questions about the role and asking questions about the company. So make sure before you go to every single interview, read the job description and have good questions to ask. Number four, this is called the STAR framework. This is something that I use and a lot of interviewers use. It's called situation, task, action, and result. So you will be asked questions such as, give me an example when you were in a crisis, and how did you deal with it? or give me an example where you saw an engineering problem and you solved it. So it's easy to go all over the place, but the STAR framework is really simple. You just say, this is a situation that you were in, this is the context, this is the task that you had been given, and this is what you had to do in that situation. And this is the action, these are the 3 action steps that you took. And because of the actions that you took, these are the outcomes, or these are the results that came out of your actions. And this framework basically helps you just simply kind of, structure your discussion. It helps you structure your conversation in a way that an interviewer can quiz you. And it also helps you kind of, demonstrate a lot of clarity of thought when you talk to someone. Number 5, be prepared with examples of your work. It's 4 years, you may have had one project in your final year. You may or may not have had any sort of industry experience, but you should be prepared to talk about projects that you have done. So figure out at least 3 examples of projects that you undertook as part of your curriculum, and be prepared to talk about it. That is something that is going to come up in an interview discussion. And you need to identify one instance where you stood out, because an interviewer is typically looking for reasons to select you. They're not looking for reasons to reject you. I think that's one very important distinction you need to have in your mind. A lot of people get stressed out because they go into an interview thinking that the interviewer is looking for reasons to reject them. That is not the case. They're looking for reasons to select you, and they're looking to find opportunities to give you so that you can talk about instances that you stood out in. And that's something that they kind of look for in their when they actually shortlist. One very small thing, it's not a very big thing, but anytime you have an interview, send a personal thank you note after the interview. So you might have the campus coordinator's email ID. Just send out a personal thank you note and let them know that you should basically, you're really grateful for the interview and you enjoyed the experience. That goes a long way. When talking about any example, do not speak negatively about anyone or anything. That's, I think, there's enough damage being done by negative folks in organizations, and that is one aspect that interviewers or companies are really scared about when they select someone. That the person should not turn out to be someone who's a negative influence in the company, and that's something that they clearly watch out. Like, are you someone who complains, or are you someone who tries to kind of figure out a situation and tries to rectify it or bring in positive change? And lastly, be authentic. I think we are who we are, and any kind of fake or temporary changes that we make and something that we bring up easily gets caught out. So, and it's very critical for you to be authentic. I would any day select an authentic guy who's who's got slightly less marks than someone who has someone who's doing very well in his academics but is kind of is a fake person when he comes across in that way in an interview. So those are some tips that I want to leave with you. Some of the trends in remote interviewing. This is a story I want to share with you. This is something that happened in March of 2020. So when the first thing that happened, when COVID struck and we all went into lockdown, is companies stopped their hiring operations. Most of them, they said, a lot of internship offers were withdrawn, and a lot of projects went into standstill. And this was basically a reaction because a lot of them did not realize the amount of productivity that can come from remote work. It is completely possible for you to be sitting at home and be very productive in your own. And that's a realization that has taken some time to come. It is there right now, thankfully. It was not there 3 months back. And one of the things that we initially did, this was with one of our customers, it was a big Fortune 500 multinational company. We worked with them for some of their openings. We said looks like you guys you still want to hire this position. You want to hire for an internship. And you want to do this when your entire team is sitting at home. So how would you go about doing it? So what we did is we created a quick site, and from the site itself, we had given all the details of what that role is about, what the stipend is, and there was a quick link that took students through the actual interview process. And some of the questions asked for introduce yourself, which candidates had to quickly record on their phone, the question that came up, and they would record it, and they would move on to the next question, which would be something a little bit more complex. For instance, can you pick up one technology like Slack and explain it to me in layman's terms? And candidates were expected to record that. So there were a series of 9, 10 such questions, which was a remote interview, and all the interviewer did was go through those recordings, and those recordings were basically monitored, and at least 2, 3 assessors were involved in actually selecting which answers they found the best, or which applications they found to be the best, and they selected the top students for a live interview where they were where they were called, and an actual interview was done. So this basically shows that companies really do not have to come to campus, or you do not have to be at the office of the company in order to give an interview and get a job. It is, so long as you're demonstrating the right capabilities, it is perfectly possible for both the companies and for the student to get what they are doing or do their job from wherever they are. So that's something that I wanted to leave with you. I think through this initiative, we managed to conduct more than 1,100 assessments in 1.5 months during the worst time of the lockdown, and we managed to place 6 students during that period when most other companies who were with us were actually going back on their offers. So that is something that I wanted to leave with you, and this is a trend that I foresee to that will continue in the future. So that with that, I don't want to go on droning about what I did. I just want to leave some time for questions. I hope what I shared gives you a quick perspective on what campus interviewing is going to be like. In closing, I just want to share that campus, although whatever is happening with the economy, people have realized that they need to invest in fresh graduates, and hiring is going to be back with full force very, very soon. And so if some of you are worried about what is going to happen to my career, you don't have to worry. I've personally seen at least 2 instances of downturns, one in 2008 and another in 2001, and they don't have a very, very big impact on fresh college graduates. So you guys have a great future. You guys are living in a great time where technology is really, really critical to everything that we do, and it's a time where everyone is adopting technology into their lives. So as an engineer, you have an opportunity to really create a big impact in whichever company. So with that, I will pause and open the floor up for questions. All right, over to you. Mahalakshmi?
Questions now. You can post your questions in the chat box.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gautam Jayaraman, sir, for the wonderful speech and informative presentation. The participants will be able to know about how to prepare themselves and the skills that are required, and how the hiring trends are now. They can approach for various jobs based on the requirements. A special thanks to Dr. K. Mahalakshmi ma'am, Dean KIT CIII, for organizing this webinar. Our deep sense of appreciation to all the participants registered for this event. I hope the webinar will be definitely useful to all. The feedback form will be sent to your corresponding mail IDs. Participants, kindly subscribe our KITCB YouTube channel and click on bell button to get your notifications for the upcoming events. I also wish to express my gratitude to our management, principal, vice principal, deans and HODs of various departments faculty friends, students, and Infonus team for supporting us. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.